We utilize speech to communicate with other people. Speech, however, is a translation into vibrational patterns of specific thought content developed with a particular pattern of electrical impulses. When it is effective, the hearer receives the vibrational energy of the speech he has heard and converts that speech into corresponding electrical impulses in the brain, triggering understanding of the content of the speech. So, if we break this down to the elements involved here, first, the speaker needs to formulate a thought, idea, concept, image in his mind. There are people who cannot speak, but who nevertheless can formulate clear ideas and thought formations. Modern researchers have begun to pick up those brain impulses, and they can then convert them into synthesized speech to communicate the thought. That validates the underlying vibrational pattern that is intended to be communicated through the speaking process. The second part is the conversion of these impulses into speech, whether through the use of the vocal capabilities of the individual, or, as noted above, through synthesized speech created from the electrical impulses of the brain. The more clear and focused the thought content, the more clearly the speech process can communicate that thought. In mechanical terms, this is increasing the ratio of signal in the form of the clear thought being communicated to noise in the form of any vague or not clearly defined elements that are being transmitted. The higher the signal-to-noise ratio, the more precisely, clearly, and directly the speech is able to translate and communicate the essence of the thought form to the hearer. To the extent the speaker is unclear in his own understanding, he will necessarily have more noise in his communication than signal, leading to non-understanding and confusion for the listener. The third element, then, is the receptivity and ability to convert the speech back into electrical vibrational patterns in his brain, thereby capturing the thought form and imagery that the sender is communicating. The receiver must be able to attend to the communication, or he will miss the sense, or he'll garble it. One element of this is to understand the specific language being used to transmit the content. For instance, a physicist may communicate information about quantum mechanics to a layperson. If it is done using the jargon and special language of physics, there will be far less communication than if the language translating the thoughts is modulated to the language and background of the hearer. However, it must be noted that understanding of a particular language is not absolutely necessary in all cases, particularly if the speaker has a very clear signal and can create images that are powerfully formed in his mind. In that instance, the receiving party may not understand the specific words, but may get the sense and understanding of what is being communicated. The mother writes, quote, "The ideal condition, which has already been partially realized by some people, is to transmit the essential idea and even something that is higher than the idea, the state of consciousness, of knowledge, of perception, directly through the vibration. When you think, the mental substance vibrates in a certain way in accordance with the form your consciousness gives to your thought, and it is this vibration which should be perceived by the other mind if it is well attuned. Indeed, words serve only to draw the attention of the other consciousness or the other center of consciousness so that it may be attentive to the vibration and receive it. But if it is not attentive and doesn't have the capacity to receive in comparative silence, you may pour out miles of words without making yourself understood in the least. And there comes a time when the brain, which is very active in emanating certain vibrations, can only receive vibrations which are clear and precise. Otherwise, it is a kind of vague mixture of something confused, imprecise, which gives the impression of a cloudy, woolly mass and doesn't evoke any idea. So one speaks. The sound is clearly heard, but it conveys nothing. It is not a question of sound. It is a matter of precision in the vibrations. If you can emanate your thought in a very precise way, if it is something living and conscious, emanating from your consciousness and going to meet the other consciousness, if, so to speak, you know what you want to say, then it arrives with the same precision. It awakens the corresponding vibration, and with the corresponding vibration comes the corresponding thought or idea or state of consciousness, and you understand each other. But if what is emanated is woolly, imprecise, if you do not know very well what you want to say, if you yourself are trying to understand what you want to say, and if, on the other hand, the attention of the hearer is not alert enough, or he is busy and active somewhere else, well then, you may talk to each other for hours. You will not understand each other at all. And in fact, this is what happens most often. When you are able to see in the consciousness of others the result of what you have tried to communicate, it always gives you the feeling of, you know what distorting mirrors are? Have you never seen distorting mirrors? Mirrors which make you look taller or fatter, which enlarge one part and reduce another. You are faced with a grotesque caricature of yourself. Well, this is exactly what happens. In the other person's consciousness, you have an altogether grotesque character of what you have said. And people imagine that they have understood each other because they have heard the sound of words, but they haven't communicated. End quote. Reference, Sri Aurobindo and the Mother, Powers Within, Chapter 2, Power of Thought, pages 20 to 21.